Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 is a departure from the general genre of fighting games. Instead of depleting an opponent's life bar, Smash Bros. Players seek to knock opposing characters off a stage. Each player has a damage total, represented by a percentage, which rises as the damage is taken and can reach maximum damage of 999%. As this percentage rises, the character is knocked progressively farther by attacks. To knock out an opponent, the player must send that character flying off the edge of the stage, which is not an enclosed arena, but rather an area with open boundaries. When knocked off the stage, a character may use jumping moves in an attempt to return. Some characters have longer ranged jumps and may have an easier time recovering than others. Additionally, characters have different weights, making it harder for heavier opponents to be knocked off the edge, the harder for them to recover once sent flying. While games such as Street Fighter and Tekken require players to memorize complicated button input combinations, Super Smash Bros. Uses the same control combinations to access all moves for all characters. Characters are additionally not limited to only facing opponents, instead being allowed to move freely. The game focuses more on aerial and platforming skills than other fighting games, with larger, more dynamic stages rather than a simple flat platform. Smash Bros. Also implements blocking and dodging mechanics. Grabbing and throwing other characters is also possible. Various weapons and power-ups can be used in battle to inflict damage, recover health, or dispense additional items. They fall randomly onto the stage in the form of items from Nintendo franchises, such as Koopa Shells, hammers, and Pokeballs. The 9 multiplayer stages are locations taken from or in the style of Nintendo franchises, such as Planet Z's from Metroid and Sector Z from Star Fox. Although stages are rendered in 3 dimensions, players move within a 2-dimensional plane. Stages are dynamic, ranging from simple moving platforms to dramatic alterations of the entire stage. Each stage offers unique gameplay and strategic motives, making the chosen stage an additional factor in the fight. In the game's single-player mode, the player battles a series of computer-controlled opponents in a specific order, attempting to defeat them with a limited number of lives in a limited amount of time. While the player can determine the difficulty level and the number of lives, the series of opponents never changes. If the player loses all of their lives or runs out of time, they can continue at the cost of a loss of overall points. This mode is referred to as Classic Mode in later games. The single-player mode also includes 2 minigames, Break the Targets and Board the Platforms, in which the objective is to break each target or board multiple special platforms, respectively. A training mode is also available in which players can manipulate the environment and experiment against computer opponents without the restrictions of a standard match. Up to 4 people can play in multiplayer mode, which has specific rules predetermined by the players. Stock and timed matches are 2 of the multiplayer modes of play. This gives each player a certain number of lives or a selected time limit before beginning the match with a countdown. Free-for-all or team battles are also a choice during matches using stock or time. A winner is declared once time runs out, or if all players except one or a team have lost all of their lives. A multiplayer game may also end in a tie if 2 or more players have the same score when the timer expires, which causes the match to end in sudden death. During sudden death, all fighters are given 300% damage, and the last fighter standing will win the match. Critically, Super Smash Bros. Garnered generally positive reviews, with most of the praise going towards its multiplayer player mode, music, original fighting game style, and simple learning curve. There were criticisms, however, such as the game's scoring being difficult to follow, and the single-player mode's perceived difficulty and lack of features, with GameSpot's former editorial director, Jeff Gerstmann, noting the single-player game won't exactly last a long time. Super Smash Bros. Was commercially successful, becoming a Nintendo 64 Player's Choice title, selling 1.97 million copies in Japan and 2.93 million in the United States as of 2008.